there is a point in your life that you reach where you live in so much uncertainty. We call this the sandwich generation sometimes, and that is when we're still raising children, but we are watching our parents get older. And in so doing, it seems to make sense that we're doing more until it doesn't make sense. And what do I mean by more? Oh my goodness, you are on the committees, you are on the board, you are pushing hard in your relationships, you're pushing hard in taking care of your family, you're pushing hard in making sure everybody's okay. But here's the problem when you reach midlife, the body changes. Oh my goodness. They didn't tell us everything that our bodies go through in midlife. Listen, but this is About This Life with your host, Anne Marie. On About This Life, we take a look at some of the struggles, some of the challenges that we have in our lives, and we explore what are some shifts that we need to make? What are some things that we need to change? And I know one thing I need to change. I see this picture above my head, and it's just it's like bothering me. There I go. So I need to adjust that. Okay. And so I am so very pleased to have a guest today, Heike Yates. Heike, hello, how are you?
I'm great. And that picture did make no difference, but now I can see what it is. It's this beautiful, gorgeous woman in the frame with beautiful earrings, just similar to what you are wearing today.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. When I saw this picture and it was drawn in our local area by a woman named Vanessa Williams, no, not Vanessa Williams, the singer, but another Vanessa Williams, an artist, I said, that's me. Because I often
Beautiful.
wear my hair in wraps. But Heike, you do so much. You are an author, you are a podcaster, you are a speaker. You are multi-talented in all these different spaces that you bring. And I want to get into it, this whole idea of midlife. How do you handle it all when there is so much to handle? I want to begin, first of all, what are some things we experience when we are going through midlife?
You started off the episode exactly right with that sandwich situation. Because so many find ourselves really sandwiched in between, like I myself, between my parents who are now ailing and need all kinds of help with where they are in life. And then I have two gorgeous grandkids and I want to spend time with them. And I do have a husband and I have my own children too. So it's like a multiple sandwich here.
Yes.
It's like a whole smorgasbord of sandwich. And you know, we want to do just by everybody. If we spend too much time in our minds with our grandkids, then we're thinking, oh, and then I can't take care of my parents, or vice versa, or you're neglecting your own kids, or your relationship with your spouse. And these are all super important things to consider where you spend your time. But the most of the time in this situation, we neglect ourselves.
We sure do. We always put ourselves last. And I don't want to gloss over the significance of it because when you say that we take care of our parents and our children and our grandparents, first of all, one of the lies that I grew up with was, yo, your children will grow up and they become these functional adults and they can exist independently and then we can go off and do our own thing. The adult children come back.
Sometimes they
Talk
do.
about that.
You know, one of the things is when my kids came back in different times of their lives. So my oldest one, who is now 37 and is the dad of the two grandkids, and my daughter's 34. When he left the home for college, and I live in Maryland, and I live in Silver Spring, and the listeners may know where that is, but it's near Washington, D.C. It's about an hour away from Baltimore. Some people know Baltimore because there's an airport
Yes.
as well. And so he went to college at Hopkins. And I was like, this is great. It's not that far. Awesome. You just go off and do your thing. Well, every weekend, I am not kidding you. Every weekend, he comes back home. And I'm like, dude, you're in college. What are you doing here? And he's like, well, you need change for the washing machine. I don't have change for the washing machine. So I have to come home and do my laundry. And I'm like, I can give you quarters. I mean, that's not a big deal. It's like, no, no, I need to do my laundry here and whatever else excuses he had. And he did that for a couple of months until I realized that he was just homesick. He didn't want
Yes.
to be there with the group of people and that he didn't know. And his roommate was kind of weird. So it's getting, having your own room and suddenly you have somebody else in your room with their
In your
own,
personal space and
yeah, sharing the bathroom and all of this. And he's like, and then finally I said, dude, go to college. This is where you belong.
please go away.
Kick him out of their nest, right? And then the second time, what happened with my daughter, which was years later, she had graduated college, and there were also like this going back and forth. But eventually, she decided she wanted to move to Europe. And she says, I can't really find the job I want to do here after college. And I've been working as a secretary, and I've been working
Mhm.
as a whatever person, and this is not what I want to do for the rest of my life. I have a degree in marine biology. I want to do something with it. And so she said, you know what? I'm just going to go travel Europe. And so she's packed up a huge backpack that was way bigger than her.
Mhm.
And off she went. She went to Spain and Germany and Ireland and ended up staying in Ireland for a couple of years. And she was there. Things seemed to go well. And then COVID hit. And
Yes.
they were really strict back there. You couldn't go within further than 10 kilometers, which is about 8 miles, give and take, away from where you live. You had to have permission, a written note that you actually were on the way to the doctor or like a meaningful trip. Otherwise, you were fined or whatever. I'm not quite clear, but they're like, no, you need to go back. And so she ended up during COVID that her roommate ended up moving in with her boyfriend and she couldn't keep the apartment she had. So she found during COVID a really teeny tiny thing of an apartment where she moved in and she was so lonely because
Yes.
before she had the roommate and then the roommate moved in with the boyfriend during COVID. And she's like, Mom, I can't make any friends. I'm so lonely. I have nothing to do. I don't know. I can't go
Mhm.
anywhere. And I said, you know what? When that was like a year or two in, and I said, just pack your bags and come home.
And
Just
come home.
come home. Just come home. I said, you can go and sleep downstairs in our basement. There's a guest room and a bathroom. You might as well be here. We pay for your food. You don't have to pay any rent. And you can figure out what you're going to do during that time. And she actually figured it out. She started studying social work and graduated 3 years ago with a master's degree in social work.
Well, congratulations, Mom. Congratulations.
So
So
the
what I
time
hear you,
moving, right?
yes, what I hear you saying is that when your children, when they become adults, they go through their own identity shifts and
Yeah.
changes. And as a woman in midlife, you're there to walk alongside them to help them find their path. That's what I'm hearing.
Mhm. But
But
not
it's
do
not
it for
just
them. But not do it for them.
with them. Yes.
Yeah.
To do to
Be the
go
voice to
ahead.
fall back on. Be the voice to of reason to say, it is okay to come home. You're not a loser because you decided you're faltering in a sense that you have no control over. And that was a game changer for her. I mean, it took her a while to figure out what she would do, but then she found her passion, what ignites her spark, which it still does, and the support of somebody there. It's like we all need that support, whether it's a big group or a person of one as a community. The support somebody just as a sounding board, not a
Mhm.
decision maker but a sounding board. Is this what we should do? Can I? What are your thoughts on this? And
Absolutely.
yeah,
And then when you do that, Heike, you've got the children. I heard you say grandchildren, and I know you've got the best grandchildren in the world.
we all do.
But I don't have any yet. But um, but then you're taking care of your parents, and it's something to watch your parents um just decline just a little bit in terms of how they are able to be independent. How are your parents doing?
This year has been a very difficult year for me. Both of my parents had to go to the hospital. My parents are divorced. My dad has remarried and has a wife of 30 years. And my mom continued to live by herself. And they almost at the exact same time went to the hospital for different health reasons.
Mhm.
And my dad is 86. My mom is 83 now. And they're in decent health overall. My dad, on the other hand, never exercised. So I think that really backfires right now on him. My mom has been keeping active with going to the gym and walking a lot, and until recently biking. But now they're both in Germany.
Okay.
Fortunately, my brother is there. He's my go-to person. It's like, what's going on? Who is doing what? So in February, after they both went to the hospital, I get all these reports from my dad's wife and then from my brother, and then
Mhm.
I talked to my mom, and they're all like, "Oh, it's everything's fine, everything's fine." I was like, "Okay." I called my son and I said, "Listen, you haven't seen the grandparents in quite a while. Now we have our second grandchild who's just a year old in February." I said, "They haven't seen their great grandson." I said, "It's time for you to go." I did not anticipate for him to like say, turn around and go like, "Okay, in 6 weeks we're there." I'm like, "Oh, oh, are they ready for this?" They had just been to the hospital, both of them, and they were home recovering, and they both were like, "Oh, no, I don't think so." So I thought about it, and then I said, "You know what? I'm just gonna go fly over. First off,
Yeah.
I can see what they're actually doing, how things are actually when I'm not on the phone." And I said, "You know what? I get to see my grandbabies and my son and his wife." And so we ended up well, it was first off like big, whoa, my God. And then when I said I'm coming, everybody was like, "Oh, oh, this is great." Because who am I? I am the organizer. I tell everybody where to go and what to do, and they all seem to listen to me. I was like, "Okay, great." Um, and so
So
my
it
son,
works.
my son and his family and I were stayed at a hotel close by, so we can walk to both of my parents, which was super easy. And then we just took it in strides to see, how much can they tolerate a visit? How long can we stay? But it was really lovely to see those three generations together.
I'm just amused because you said your parents are divorced, yet they end up in Germany at the same time. That's something. So we can see the busyness of life, if
Yeah.
I can describe it that way. And then when you are in a midlife position, in a midlife state,
Mm.
let me ask it the question this way. Do you ever find that people, and I know you have clients, and you can talk about that a little bit, that get stuck? You get stuck because begin by doing something and, oh, that's not good enough. I've got to redo it, or I've got to it's not quite right. It's never perfect enough. And then you're spinning almost like on a hamster wheel. You're going around and around and around, and you end up never getting anything done. And sometimes, because there's so much going on with us physically, and emotionally, and the identity shifts that are happening with us that we don't always understand, we get stuck. How do you help people who get stuck?
Many people come to me because they have physical ailments, as we're in midlife. And I always define midlife between the ages of 40 and 80. Most people think about midlife as 50 hard stop. But that's not the truth because as we're going through the changes in life, we have our children, then we become empty nesters. We may have had a career that we're changing around that time as well, like in their 40s or 50s. We women
Mhm.
often want to have a better position or we're striving for more. And then as we get older, so many of us in our 80s, up to our 80s, are so full of life and ideas and things we want to do. Whereas then I found my oldest client, just to preface this, is 100 years old.
Wow. Good for
And
her.
actually, it's funny. Okay, it's a
It's a he?
him.
It's a
It's a
him?
him,
Okay.
but his 95-year-old wife drives him to the studio.
I love it.
I
I love it.
I know, right? I'm like, okay, more power to you guys. You're doing all this. But it's when you get to 80, a lot of people need more orthopedic help and needs with
Mhm.
arthritis, with posture, with not being able to be as reactive. We're slower. We need more balance work. We need more mobility work. So things change until then. Not to say that women that are and men that are much older are not mentally super fit and do things. But I find when I combine Pursue Your Spark in this, and I talk about this also in my book, Pursue Your Spark, that there is a change after 80 where this no longer, in my mind at least, is no longer midlife. This is okay, we're done with that phase. We're
Mhm.
we're now really into a more therapeutic phase in our lives. And the people that come usually have some of the therapeutic needs or have bad posture or have pain of
Yeah.
some sorts. And they want to get rid of the pain, whether it's through my Pursue Your Spark Blueprint program, where I teach Pilates and strength training, or in person in my studio here in Maryland. But more often than not, they're stuck, like you said. They're
Mhm.
stuck. They have tried all the exercises, and now they're hoping that Pilates will be the thing that fixes them. And sometimes it does, and sometimes it doesn't. But what comes out more often than not when I work with people that they start to be more mindful. They start realizing that it's not only they are thinking about how they physically are that holds them back, but it also translates into what they feel about themselves, how they see themselves. And they're, oh, I can't do this. Now I can't play paddleball anymore. I'm like, all right, well, do something else. It doesn't matter. I had to stop running 4 years ago because of a really bad arthritic knee, but I'm hiking and I'm walking. So
But it
adaptation.
doesn't, but it doesn't matter unless it's your identity, because that's where we're really getting to the crux of. Because
Mm,
if your identity is you are a runner and all of a sudden you can't run anymore,
yeah,
that is a huge mindset shift.
yeah. Now, which is interesting, does happen to me, and it took me about a year to grieve my not being able to run. Feeling sorry for myself and seeing all my friends doing all these wonderful things that I can't do. And I'm going, oh, man. But what it also made me realize in that year of grieving is that so many of us pick one thing that's our thing, whatever that is, and
Mm-hmm.
make it our identity. I'm the cook. I'm the caregiver. I'm the one who fixes everything. I'm the
Mm-hmm.
whatever we are. And we don't allow ourselves to go outside of that one identity to branch out because all of us, we're so good at so many things that we don't give ourselves credit for, but we focus on that one only thing. So if we lose that one and only thing, we feel we've lost out. We
Yes.
we feel we can't do it. Now, who am I? What's my self-worth at this point? And I'm encouraging everybody to really branch out and say, what else are you good at? Are you a good writer? Are you good at knitting? Are you good at, I don't know, hair braiding? I don't know what people love to do or explore new things as you go through that grieving process. It's like my choice had to be either knee replacement or no knee replacement. Because even with a knee replacement, I was not going to go run long distance. I can still
Mhm.
run from here to there
But
with my grandkids, but not. not that identity that I had. So what would the next step be for me?
There is this lie. We can dispel the lie because when we talk about identity and we say, "Who am I?" one tends to think of younger folks, the teenager. Who am I? Or the person in their early 20s and they're just trying to figure out who they are. But lo and behold, you get to midlife and you start asking yourself, who am I? Because of what you just said.
Mhm.
I'm curious to get your thoughts on the difference between doing and being. Because if we're attached to running or to the cook or any number of things that you listed, that's something we do. How do we move and become just being? Who, how do we answer the question in terms of this is who I am? I'm trying to get spiritual here, actually.
I know. I
Think
was like,
about,
ooh, where are we going to go take this?
yeah, because I'm thinking about God when He answers, I am that I am.
Yeah.
Ah.
But when you think about this identity that you've created for yourself, it is who you are at that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And not just what you do, like it's used to running, for example. That's something I did, but I also was the runner. I thought like a runner. I ate like a runner. I stretched or did Pilates like a runner. Everything was centered around that idea. Now, and through that year of grieving, I had to peel back what I like to call my onion. I opened my onion and I start
Mm-hmm.
peeling back the layers of who else am I? But underneath all of this would be my
Yes.
question. Who is Heike really, or your listener? Who am I really aside from all the outside noise? What brings me joy and fulfillment in life aside from that activity that I'm doing?
Mm-hmm.
What is it that I need to do to actually unearth that identity? I need
Absolutely.
I
And
need to get
so you use
curious.
movement a lot.
Mhm.
And it's interesting because I'm listening to you. I pronounce it Pilates, but you
You
don't
started
pronounce it the
too.
same way. Tomato, tomato. But you use movement. Why movement?
I feel people get in touch with their body. Once because once they have to they pay attention because it's always like, okay, focus on your breathing, and you just started recently Pilates, and you focus on your breathing, on precise movement of how does the body feel, is there any tension in the body that you don't need at the moment, am I using the right muscles, am I focusing on my balance and my posture? There's a lot of things to think about when you do, in our case, Pilates, and
Mm-hmm.
and paying attention makes such a difference when we do things. I have one client who has really bad neck pain.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been working together for a while now. And she's like, I can't feel my arm muscles because my neck is always working. And so I'm trying to do this exercise and that routine and that approach and this approach and that approach. And we're getting somewhere. And we're testing if she has enough strength. Because I said, maybe you don't have enough strength in your shoulder girdle to hold those shoulders from coming up like this. And then she realized over the course of several months, she walked in one day and she says, I got it. I'm just catching myself shrugging up my shoulders all the time. I said, wow. And she says, yeah, I never noticed that.
Yes.
Although, although we've talked about this, the shoulders are up, bring the shoulders down, and engage your trapezius, and go and engage your lats and your tricep, and all this good stuff. And then suddenly she realized that the habit she had was the constant shrugging. She's a lot on the computer. Um, and works also at night sometimes. But once she realized that, and she was in today, she automatically had developed the awareness, not the habit, but the awareness of, oh, my shoulders are up. Oh, I just
Mm-hmm.
noticed it. And having that awareness translates into all of the things we do in our lives, in my mind.
Yes.
But movement enables us to move with our body and feel our body. And let me also tell you, Anne Marie, some people have no clue about their body. So that's a whole
Yeah.
different story.
But the thing about movement and breath work, and anybody listening, I hope you hear that strength has to definitely be one of the things that you work on as our body ages. And you've mentioned grief several times,
Mm.
and I wanted your response to it because what I'd like to do is to normalize the idea that we grieve what was. Using myself as an example, you would have never got me to use Pilates. I can't help saying it the way I say it, years ago, because I'm this person goes into the gym. I'm true grit. Okay. I'm just let me give me the barbells. Let me do that. And I had to grieve the fact that I can't lift those weights anymore because I end up being in more pain
Mhm.
then I am in development. And suddenly Pilates became my friend because now I'm like, I can do this and still work on my strength. So, talk about grief and how we move past it.
We all have our own process, and it takes as long as it takes. We can never know how long it takes. But I think when we look at grief from a angle of or a lens of letting go,
Mhm.
discovering something new. Because grief, when you hear the word, it's like it's sorrow, it's sadness, it's
Yes,
tears, it's claustrophobic, it's tightening in on you. It
it's
stops your.
dark and it's that.
Yeah. But when you say, okay, I'm taking my time to grieve whatever the grief is that you have and say, This is a process of letting go. This is a process of me moving forward to find something else." And that's where I feel curiosity leads the way. Be curious about what else can be
Mhm.
there instead of thinking, "Oh man, back then I did this." Great, excellent. But what are you doing now? What is it that would spark your curiosity? What that would interest you that might be a way out? Because as we have some new interests, they take us over the hump or away from that sad feeling. We still may feel sad for the rest of our lives, but to what degree is really the key to as you move forward, this pain lessens.
Yes, the grief lessons, and that is when how we move toward our joy,
Hmm.
how we move forward towards life gets better once
For,
we understand that we have to let go of some things and we may have to grieve it. But then when you step into something new, life gets better because you find alignment. So that is your pursue your spark strategy, your framework. And so you work with clients to get them back to, I believe when I listened to your podcast episode, you made special note. We don't always want to reset. We don't always want to do that because we reset, we're going in a circle, we're
gosh.
spinning, we're not going forward. We want to be able to tweak some things. So tell us about Spark.
Pursue Your Spark came out of the idea, actually, the person who instigated the book. Instigated sounds bad, but had the idea because I wanted to write a book for a while, and I didn't want it to be a fitness nutrition book. I'm like, well, I've been doing this for 40 years. I can write all kinds of things about this, but is this really where I light up, or is it not?
Mhm.
And one of my clients that I've been working with for also a long time, and she just turned 80 last year when I published my book. And she was the person who is behind the idea of the book. And the reason is that her husband has gotten ill and he's much more dependent on her than he has been. And she's becoming more of a caregiver than she ever imagined and was getting burned out, and she couldn't go singing at her church choir. And there was always, he would call, or he wouldn't let her go because he needed something. And she says, I feel really trapped, Heike. I was like, oh my God, it's not what I imagined it to be like. And then her daughter said, Mom, come and visit me. And we find another family member to take care of Dad. So he's in good hands and you don't have to worry about him. She's also a little worrywart. And so she went to visit her daughter, and they had the best time together. They went out for
Yes.
lunches. They just, they talked uninterrupted. And so as she comes back and she walks in the studio, and she's like beaming. And I went, what happened to you? What kind of weekend did you have? And she said, oh my God, it was the best time ever. She
Yes.
says, I did all these things. I actually lay around and read my book. I didn't run here, run there. We hang out together. And she said, it was the best time. And I feel like myself again.
Mm.
Not, not like you said earlier, Anne Marie, the younger self. This is the
Yes.
first time I understood that
Yes.
message. The way I feel like myself again now in the life,
Yes.
in the life that I'm living now, not 20, 30 years ago. And I looked at her and I said, you just gave me my book.
Yes.
And
And that
so,
is the crux of the message. We're not trying to go back, those questions about what would you go back to being 16 again? No.
no.
No. But to remember who you are in this moment now with all of the wisdom. Yes, go ahead.
And make the changes as they are appropriate and necessary, because we don't need to throw out the kid with the bathwater, because that's all about the resetting, the renew you, and whatever the messages sometimes are. But it's about tweaking where you are right now to based on where you are right now. And the Spark framework has really grown out of that message that I keep hearing women saying, I keep starting over and nothing changes. I'm keep doing the old things. They used to work, but now nothing changes. And so the Spark framework is a 5-step framework that leads people through steps that are not a do-over, but they are a step to move forward, including roadblocks where when you get stuck, you're like, okay, let's use an example. Let's use an example. You would love to learn how to cook. You've never
Hmm.
done any cooking. Your spouse did all the cooking. You said, you know what? I'm
Hmm.
going to do this. This is a great time of my life. I'm going to do this. This is my challenge. So then you go look in the S part of the book is the scanning and the framework. So you scan of what kind of recipes you like to cook. So you
Hmm.
gather, let's say 3 recipes. You're like, okay, this is great. Then you make a plan. The plan is like, I need to buy all these foods, and this is what I need in order to cook this, and this is how long it's going to take, which is the planning part in the Spark. And then you take action. Then you start cooking, and you're like doing your thing, and cooking
Hmm.
goes well until you burn the whole meal. Let's be dramatic. Let's
You've
burn
been
the
in
whole
my
meal.
kitchen.
You burn the whole meal, but you have
Mm.
no idea why you burned that meal. You followed all the steps in the recipe, and there you are. You're really exhausted, and you're like, this is not for me. And then you say, wait a minute. Let's go back to the scanning part. Why did I pick these super duper complicated recipes where I
Mhm.
haven't learned how to cook? Let's pick, and that's basically what I did. Pick recipes with 10 ingredients. I can handle 10 ingredients and nothing that I have to buy that's not already in my house other than the food that you need, like no seasoning that I never use or any weird stuff. And then you start cooking again. So you buy all the stuff, you start cooking again. And then you suddenly go, whew, this is really great. And this time there is no roadblock. And then you go, this is great. This recipe worked 10 steps, 10 ingredients,
Mm-hmm.
nothing more. And so then you keep momentum for the K. And at any point in the framework, you could say, you know what? You didn't even make it to the burnt meal. You just stay there with all your ingredients and you go, oh my God, overwhelm. Go back to the scanning part. Did I take on too much, which a lot of us do? Did I
Mm-hmm.
take on too much to do all at once? I need to pare it down. Or you could say, I don't really like cooking. This is not for me. And you find something else. So it's repeatable steps for whatever you have in life, whether you're looking for a job, whether you want to learn a new
I would
skill.
say, I have to interrupt you. I have to interrupt you because to think about you coming into like into a black household. So as you're using, you picked an interesting analogy because there's this whole pressure. Who's making a macaroni and cheese? Who's making a potato salad? And somebody would say, "Don't hurt yourself. Just bring the paper plates."
See? Oh my God, I've heard this too. The client of mine's like, I don't want to do the potatoes.
Yes, I don't want to do the potato salad. I don't want to do the mac and cheese. And it's always interesting. And then you come to a realization, which is the point where I interrupt you. I just had to get that in. And since that maybe cooking isn't for me, maybe that's, I can do something else to contribute to the community other than cooking.
Yeah, but it's a part of the self-exploration again. It's like when I'm curious about what I would want to do, what could that be? I've learned, well, I'm in the process of learning to play the saxophone. 2
Mm-hmm.
years ago, my husband gave me a saxophone. And I was found it under the Christmas tree, and I was like, this is not anything fitness related. What is this? And he says, well, you told me at one point that when you lived in Munich that you heard somebody play the saxophone in the English Garden in Munich. And you loved the sound. You loved the guy let you
Yes.
try it out. And you said, if I ever learn an instrument, it will be the saxophone. So he bought me a saxophone. I played with it last year, just a little bit. And then I was like, this year I said, I'm going to play Pink Panther. That's my thing. I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
practice till the end of the
Mm-hmm.
year. I have no idea how to play an instrument. I cannot read music. I have this YouTube video that shows me the hand position. And so I'm just trying to follow it on the slowest pace until I
Mm-hmm.
get better at it. But this is something that I would have not thought about. And I want your listeners to think about when they're in that rut or they're stuck. What is something that you wanted to do at some point in your life that you said, oh man, if I could, this would be it?
If only, and fill in the blank.
Yeah.
If only, and fill in. And I want to say kudos to your husband for being supportive
Yeah.
because in going back to the cooking analogy, there are many instances where the teasing and the berating and the expectation um, in terms of your culture that you fit a mold. And one of the things we have to let go, and this grows with wisdom, is we have to stop living other people's expectations.
Yeah.
And that, yeah, that works for you, but over here, there's something else that you like to do. And
Mhm.
to be able to stand on that and to be able to say, I'm okay with being myself, and that's what listeners need to understand, that
Yeah.
even though I'm not what you think I should be, but I'm going to be who I am.
Yep. And really coming back home to yourself among all the noise around us and all the internet ideas and the social media posts and the good,
Mhm.
well-meaning friends that are supporting us. It's like, what is it that you really want?
Yeah. What do you really want? Oh, my heart, my heart. So I just want to thank you for being my guest today. I can see the QR code behind you. So our audience members can definitely click on that, scan it, and it will lead you to like your bio, some information, and following up with you. And and doing all of the things in terms of finding the courage to step forward and get
Yeah.
unstuck. So, to my audience, I would say, I want you to take what resonates with you, hold it up to a light, pray about it, journal about it, ask the question, if only, where can I go in this space? In terms of what is next for you, how to move forward without moving around and around and around and around and around. So I would like to thank you, Heike, for being my guest. And if I'm saying it wrong, correct me.
Perfect.
Okay, well, thank you for being my guest today
My
and
pleasure.
sharing with us in terms of pursuing your spark as well as the stories of your family. So we thank you for that. This is Anne Marie, host of About This Life. We are changing our lives one day at a time. And in so doing, if anything in this resonates with you, please like, share, subscribe, and come on back for the next episode. We want to add some more years to your life. Take care, everybody. Bye bye.